I know my nephew can build a website for like not even $500, right?
Coffee cup still, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
That's a Dreamweaver.
Hey everybody, welcome back to
Challenging the fifth level.
this podcast is just for business owners, CEOs, entrepreneurs, people who simply feel alone. And if this is your first time at one of our podcasts, welcome. And if you're returning, hope you've enjoyed it till now. We dive into a whole bunch of series of different subjects that really keep you up at night, make you go, And one of those things, folks, that we like to think, the subjects we like to always get into is like what business owners believe in, but when the reality sets in, it's a rude awakening.
True story.
And the one area that blows my mind is digital marketing. Luis, you've been doing this for God knows how long. Why are business owners believing that digital marketing is not only the catch-all, but it's like the instant, way to success?
It's very curious that you say that. I also bring this up when I teach a class on digital marketing at McGill. And the funny thing is that a lot of business leaders still have the old school point of view that, let's just hire an intern. Let's give them, $200 in Google ad or
Wait,
Facebook.
I know my nephew can build a website for like not even $500, right?
Coffee cup still, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
That's a Dreamweaver. Well, and that's the sort of the misnomer in the industry is that because the decisions are being made by C-suites that tend to be a little bit on the let's call it older side of father time. They still remember the older days when things were a little bit more affordable, but the internet became the true democratizer in our society. Now anybody and everybody has a soapbox, and because of that, what ended up happening, and this is a curious matter, is not to age you, David, but you do come from the advertising space.
There goes my white hair. Yeah, absolutely.
Or no hair at all. But you come from the advertising space.
Absolutely.
And the advertising space before, there was an agency that was usually involved, and then newspapers and radio started reaching out themselves to the stronger clients in order to negotiate better rates. So they would skip the agency, and the agencies then started becoming more of a strategic partner in developing strategies and content rather than the actual production itself or disseminating the medium. This ended up happening in digital marketing as well. So we had the likes of Facebook and MySpace way back when, but also Google Ads. And they just went up to Mr. and Mrs. Smith and said, why pay an agency to create your content? Absolutely. Use our ad platforms, use our platform, put in your credit card, and you know what? You can invest $5. And by $5, you'll get reach, you'll get 1,000 people viewing your ad and whatnot. But I think that this is the biggest myth and one of the biggest lies of digital marketing. Why? Because not every view or every impression is the same. For all those people that still use Facebook, when you're clicking on the pictures on a profile, you click next, and a lot of us just really skim fast through those pictures. There's an ad that keeps on getting loaded every time.
Absolutely.
That's an impression. That is that infamous impression that you are now getting charged for a penny, 2 pennies, 3 pennies, whatever it is.
What does that add up?
It adds up at the end of the day. And so, these ads that, that run on platforms like Facebook will have 5,000, 6,000 impressions, no call to action, no click, no conversion, no nothing. So the reality is that although the internet was the greatest democratizer in modern time, because it did give that soapbox to everybody, it also lowered the barrier of entry on anybody and everybody that wanted to put ads. This, by the rule of scarcity, makes things more expensive if you want them to convert and you want to be more effective. You can buy impression ads, and it's like putting salt in water. Or you can actually create a campaign and actually invest good money into it in order to create proper lead generation. And I know, and this is going to be my segue to you, David, because I know that you have clients that on a constant basis are complaining that lead generation is not working for them.
You commented about my age, and I thank you very much.
About
But
your
I
full
would,
year.
yeah, thank you so much. But I started in advertising in 1991. Like I ran around selling newspaper ads, local paper. That was my first job right out of university. And even in university, when they would taught us about advertising, and if you ever watched the show Mad Men, yeah, that was great and cute and whatever, and a little bit of drama, but that was a reality, right? It was all about sis boom ba, big ads, this, that, and the next thing, whatever. But it was simple because the modes of communication were limited. You had print. Print's been around for centuries.
It says Martin Luther.
So, yes, the first. There we go. Yes. Radio came late 19th, early 20th century. Fine. TV showed up in the last century. Billboards. But we had limited platforms. And I mean, print is like newspaper, magazine, whatever. Limited. And what you could do was limited. And you had to deliver the message concisely. And, when it became affordable, the different print medium, for example, the local radio stations made it affordable to the local person. It was not just Procter & Gamble, and wasn't just the car dealerships that could advertise. Anybody can now advertise. And it was simple. And people bought into the idea of simplicity, but also cheap. I can buy cheap ads. You know what changed, Luis, for us? And I remember I went back to the newspaper in 2000. I was there for 12 years. And around the what do they call them? Aughts? The 2 zeros there, the aughts. People would start talking about websites. I need to invest in my website. No, your website is not advertising. No, but if I don't do this, and people got confused. Then we got this message like traditional marketing, digital marketing. I have to have a traditional strategy, digital strategy. And I even fought with one of the largest agencies in Montreal. Okay, I'm not going to say name who because I don't want to lawsuit on my ads, but it was a pretty significant name.
Tell us the sin, not the sinner.
Yeah, I haven't. Anyways, at the end of the day, all she kept saying to me was, we need to think digital, I said, no, you need to think complete strategy. It's not digital. What is the marketing communication strategy? And why are you eliminating us? And I made a very compelling argument. And all she kept saying, the client wants a digital strategy. And I was like, you sold them a buzz.
Well, I mean, you are selling a buzz, or you were. Nowadays,
no, I'm going back almost 20 odd years.
Absolutely. I think that 20 years back into the future, I think that the number one catch is we're entering that space now where we're now talking about people investing in their website, and people are saying, no, we don't really need to invest in our website. We need to invest in, TikTok and in, Instagram and in, the random times I hear Facebook, which almost are never. But
I need an Instagram.
Well, actually, I don't even hear that often.
I need a Snapchat. Depends on what you're.
I need Reddit management. I need, I need to be able to have user content generators or user generated content. There you go. Easy for you to say, blah blah blah, tongue twister. And I think that's the next step. So I'm going to go back to the first thing that I said when we're talking about how business leaders nowadays think that they can get their cousin's kid or their nephew who is very good at internet to start running ads for them and whatnot for free, get some work experience. Times have changed, costs are different, and even though it's internet.
But let me ask you this question. I'm sorry I'm cutting you off, but you said times have changed. Not the modes of communication, but the number of channels to communicate with people. How do you tell, how can somebody says, I need a TikTok strategy? That's one channel.
Well, but I'll answer that quickly by saying that, you're not pizza. You can't please everybody. You have to pick the channels that work for you. I have people that come and say, I need 7 channels and I need this and I need that and I need an email marketing strategy and a social media, which each one with X, with TikTok, with, and I'm like, no. Hold your roll. Slow your roll. And let's break it down. Let's break it down into what you actually need. I mean, it may be a good idea to reserve all your social media handles, but let's not invest in all of them. Each one or each couple of social media channels, it's almost like a full-time job.
Absolutely.
And then on top of that, you have email marketing because you need to create, creative content on your email marketing.
Whoa. You have to create an email list first. You can't even do marketing without a list.
You can do your list, and there's ways around that to create a dynamic list based on you creating content, selling
but I'm
product or what.
You can't just spam anymore. It's not what it used to be.
Well, true. And you have to be, very up to date with your canned spam rules. But I mean, Constant Contact and MailChimp and all the other, platforms will allow you to at least respect certain regulations on that. I think that the big catch here is that there's countless of businesses that I know out there that started with email marketing. And they actually are an email marketing business. So they created, a blog or news of the day, kind of like things that I need to know, but I don't know enough of. And they deliver that through email marketing. They don't even have a website. What they do is they'll create their email content every day, every second day, whatever it is that their posting cycle is. And they'll drive traffic directly through social media to a page that is, hosted by MailChimp or something similar. They absorb the data and then they're creating their own business of a blog on an email. So now the market has totally changed. And, shout out to a lot of people out there who talk about, from boring businesses to simplified digital businesses that make thousands of bucks as a passive secondary business. But the reality is that the days of cheap online don't exist anymore. Efficient, cost-effective days are still in, and they're very much important nowadays.
I'm gonna to touch on so many things there, and for me, I'm gonna ask you this question, and I heard this from Gary Vaynerchuk, who's, by the way, great digital marketing guru in his own, or marketing guru. I shouldn't even call him digital, but he's a great guru in himself. How do you tell your clients, folks, if you don't monetize your website and your programs, you're wasting your time?
I'm going to give an example. So again, I'm going to talk about the sinner, not the sinner. It was in my time in the Montreal office. And Montreal is known for one of the fashion hubs of North America. Mm-hmm. And our company got called in by a very, very, very big company that had a lot more sales in the States than it had in Canada. I think they were sponsored by a big celebrity, made it big on a TV show and whatnot, female clothing brand. And we walk in, and I think back then they had something upwards of 300,000 or 400,000 followers. And the first thing that comes out of the founder's mouth is, how are you going to get us to $1 million? That's a million followers. My apologies, 1 million followers. And I obviously, walking into this meeting, did a little bit of my homework, my research, and I kind of realized that a lot of the followers were bots and fakes and whatnot, and it wasn't their fault. It was just, the name of the game. This was before the great purge of the internet. And I said, well, before I get you to 1 million, I'm going to get you to 100,000. Yeah. And their mind blew, and they're like, what do you mean 100,000? You're going to lower our reach? And I was like, well, the problem is that a lot of these people are fake, and we need to really restructure your program. And if you want to go for the long haul and not be subject to what, a year later was the great purge, where all these social media celebrities lost hundreds of thousands of followers because they were all fake accounts. And I told them, this is the reality. They were running contests online where, I'm never going to forget the contest that they were running was a free paid trip to Montreal for 4 days to be partake as a behind the scenes person in the photo shoot of their new calendar. Mm. And it was all paid. It was a great trip. So about $3,000-$4,000 prize. Guess what? If they had 400,000 followers, they should probably have,
billions of people, right?
They had about 100,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers or registrants into the contest.
There you go.
That in itself shows you, their actual reach. So that was a big problem. And I told them, well, this is just evidence. They didn't like what I had to say. Well, and we ended up not doing business.
But you burst their bubble.
And we didn't do business. And the reality was I walked out of that room very comfortable saying, listen, you're not ready for a company like us. You are not ready to, accept the reality of the market and of your current situation. I'm here to not promise you anything that I cannot deliver.
One of the things that I'm still floored, and it hasn't changed in decades. This notion of lack of alignment in all of the marketing, lack of alignment in that strategy.
Marketing mix.
That marketing mix. Not just the communication vehicles or the methods or whatever, but like everything's got to tie into each other. I mean, if at the end of the day you're marketing because you want to increase sales, so yes, I don't understand why the thinking is so bloody siloed when it comes up to your marketing. It has to have a main focus or vision or whatever it is. You see it the same way with some of your clients?
I do. I was actually very recently talking to a vice president of marketing for a very large company that's based out of the Netherlands. They do a lot of operations in Canada as well. They're in the electronic gaming space. And that was the number one challenge that they were having was they have a very strong marketing team. And when I mean strong, many, many players.
Right.
They were all operating in silos. And so their performance, first of all, he started with, we don't have the performance, we don't have the reach, we don't have the impact. And after a couple of questions, started realizing that what I was alluding to was that they were working in silos and there's no overarching story, There isn't that arc like in like in the Marvels. How do you
bring it together?
A bigger story that makes an impact.
And Avengers, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Well, guess what? They weren't actually approaching it in a proper organized fashion, building and creating benchmarks for a bigger story. They were approaching it the way DC approaches their movies, which is one
completely broken.
Exactly. I know our producer's going to love that one. But the reality is that was their challenge. And our parting words on that conversation is, thank you for this. We have a lot more work than we thought we had to do. Before we get to the stage of growing worldwide, we now need to basically take 3 steps back to restructure our team. And kudos to any C-suite director or a C-suite officer who can actually take a moment to say, hey, we actually need to go backwards to build a better forward.
I'll tell you another fallacy. This is something that I teach my students. You talked about teaching digital marketing, and I teach sales strategy. And in my first class,
take his class, by the way.
Yes. Likewise, Luis is pretty good. I tell everybody sales and marketing are rarely on the same page.
Very rarely.
The objectives, they're
well, what's the biggest oxymoron?
The biggest? Oh my God.
The biggest in this conversation. A vice president of sales and marketing.
Yeah, well, I was one.
How did you like that title, considering they're two completely different worlds?
You know what? I got to tell you, it was great, but it was an argument. Because one of the things is that marketing wants to pull one direction. You talk about views and clicks and this and that, and it's like, and I showed this video to my students, and I talked to why they're on totally different planes of thinking. Oh, we have this great thing. Oh, we generate a lead. Sales can't close. What is wrong with sales? And sales goes, why is marketing sending me terrible leads? And blah, blah. When was the last time sales and marketing sat down together and said, could we define our ideal customer profile? Can we sit down together and coordinate the message we want to deliver to this ideal customer profile? I can't think, and I was a vice president of sales and marketing, and I tried to bring both together, and it was pulling teeth. It was incredible to see how unaligned they were.
Oh, well, yeah, and we see that on a daily basis, particularly with some of our clients because of the qualitative versus quantitative. A lot of the measurements and the KPIs in our industry are numbers, sheer numbers.
Sure.
But it's the quality of the lead good? Can you actually close on the lead? What is this lead coming from a bounce to an increase?
But you're getting technical.
I am getting.
You're getting very technical. But to me, if I'm a business owner and I'm tearing my head of sales apart because I'm saying, why aren't we closing more deals? And you say, well, because I don't have good quality leads from marketing, and marketing's like, don't blame me. We're bringing you, look the number of leads we're bringing in. You're not closing. It's like, guys are not, you're talking English and you're talking Chinese. Sorry. Like, this to me, and this goes back to the whole thing, digital marketing is not the solution if you take it, if you don't approach it holistic manner.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you're in a digital space, you need to approach digital marketing as a holistic approach, for the simple reason that, you know, if you live in a digital ecosystem, a digital ecosystem, you know, there's so many more options nowadays too. Email marketing, social media marketing, you know, user-generated content, influencers. You have Reddit channels who may promote an up and down.
Sure.
And so, and by the way, watch Dumb Money. Okay. Dumb Money. Great
movie.
Great movie.
Sure.
Talks about, you know, the battle between, you know, individual investors and Wall Street in the GameStop, and it shows how virality actually starts impacting our day-to-day businesses, not just the big business, but a small business. And so the reality is, any strategy, we'll talk to a lot of people out there and they say, oh, I got sold a strategy. Did they really get sold a strategy? And I find that, you know, nowadays it's easier for people to buy, I like to use the analogy, they'll buy the flyer, not the content that's on the flyer.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges, that when we face some of our, you know, our clients, we have to actually, you know, break it down and be like, yeah, I don't think you're ready for a strategy just yet. You haven't been doing a strategy. You've just been doing a lot of, you know, executing a lot of ideas.
It's reactionary
work.
It's reaction.
Correct.
And, you know, and I'll tell you, it hasn't changed, by the way. Like, when I got into the advertising business, and I would sit with small business owners, all the way up to, like I said, large Canadian-wide national advertising agencies. And I would ask the question, what's the strategy? What's the end game? More sales. No, clearly, you're not doing this because you want to throw away money, right? It's not a lottery ticket. You want more sales. What are you doing about? How are you tying this all into everything you're doing? What's the strategy? What's the message? What's the brand? What's the this? And from small to large, I got often a look of, I don't know what you want. This is the program. This is what we're doing. And there, you know, it was incredible. And how much turnover at the agency level, how many clients they lost. You know, it was like they knew they were going to lose the client anyways, because turnover, new marketing. No, if you did your job right, and there were some clients who stayed with agencies for years because they got it right, the strategy, even for a small business. So, like, messaging to, like, small business owners today, first of all, don't despair, okay? I mean, please, and don't feel that you now have to go find the largest digital marketing agency or whatever to do this. But find someone in marketing who's going to ask the right questions. Luis, based on your experience, what should some of those questions be?
Well, I think that some of those questions really come with making the business owner self-reflect, because a lot of times business owners will show up and say, I just need to sell. I need to sell. I need to sell. I need to sell. I need to sell. And a lot of times the question becomes, what is your sales process? We've talked about that in a previous podcast. What does the client journey, you know, look like within your digital ecosystem? What is your current acquisition of client process? What is an expected budget, and what do you expect your ROI to be, or what would you like it to be at least? And that's a very hard question to ask, particularly or to answer at the beginning. But a lot of people don't even understand that, you know, marketing and marketing dollars should be a percentage of your revenue.
Expected revenue.
Well, expected revenue. And I think that because of that, and because of the myth that, you know, digital marketing is very cheap and very affordable, people are like, oh, well, let's do everything. But you can't do everything. And you shouldn't, and you really shouldn't do everything. I mean, even the largest companies out there, they pick their battles and they choose their channels in order to be able to be effective. And it's better to be extremely strong on a specific channel and get a lot more leads out there than to try to be everywhere and have a mediocre presence.
You know, I go back to something that I learned 35 years ago. Where are my customers at? What are they listening? What are they watching? Where are they? And back then it was like, what TV show, radio, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, what social media channels are they on? What do they consume as content? That's where I want to be. Whether it's B2C or B2B, I want to be there. So some of the questions that I have asked, like my clients, is like, what do you want to be known as? What's your reputation? What do you want to drive as the message? What makes you different? What makes you unique? What, you know, how, and again, it's a little salesy, but it's also a way to communicate to people, why me? Why should you buy from me? And I think that a lot of marketing people are looking at tactics, but don't understand the business. Don't understand the raison d'etre of the business owner, the business itself, to be able to properly give, you know, the right impressions or the right strategy. You and I talked about one client in particular, and I talked to a couple of other agencies, you know, because I couldn't bring her just one. I had to bring her a few other people because she wanted to meet people in digital marketing. Mm-hmm. And what you said to me, what struck me was, oh, stop. Don't do it that way. And you were the only one out of 5 or 6 agencies I spoke to who didn't just listen to me. You challenged me. You stopped me. You said, hold on, that's not going to work, no matter how much she wants it. I think that digital marketing, everybody believes is, and I go back to the very beginning of this podcast, people think it's like instant coffee or water stirred drink. It ain't that
at all.
And the expectation that it's going to work fast, I want to sell more. It's the realities. I think the whole purpose of this podcast was to dispel some of these myths, some of these ideologies that your clients, my clients, and other business owners, small to large, you got to get out of your head, people.
No, let's just get out of your head, get out of your way, and actually allow a team to come and educate you and inform you a bit. I mean, listen, the technology changes on such a daily basis. We just talked about it off camera, but you know, not this weekend, but next weekend, I'm going to an AI conference.
Yeah,
we've been heavily into AI, and even us, we have to learn. We're learning processes and prompts and whatnot. So the market is changing. Don't expect to know everything.
Market is changing. Technology is changing. Our consumption is changing. Things are going to change. It's going to get more fragmented.
Exactly. And the idea behind this is, it's unfortunate to say this, but there's more than one way to skin a rabbit, kind of thing, right? And so the reality is, a strategist, similar to what we do, shameless plug right there, but we will think outside the box. I would be very wary to people who just want to sell you the flyer.
And I think that
talk about what's the content on the flyer, talk about the strategy that's going to go into delivering that flyer, talk about everything that's happening into it. And I use the flyer as an analogy because there are so many avenues to get a brand, get either a service or a product, B2B, B2C, to go to market in such an innovative way that could be a little bit more cost effective. And what I mean by cost effective, I don't mean cheap. I mean that you're gonna waste less money by targeting properly the money and increasing your ROI.
And folks, look, I think that is the key. Find the right strategist, understands your business, understands what you need, and not just someone who's prepared to execute. And Luis, I think this was awesome, and I really do appreciate you. I think that everybody who was listening today should have taken something major from this about digital marketing, i.e., don't expect the star and the moon in the sky from Facebook.
No, absolutely. Particularly not Facebook nowadays. Anyways.
On that note, folks, thank you for joining us here at Challenging the Fifth Level. I'm David Solomon.
I'm Luis Diaz.
And we thank you very much. Hey, listen, check us out. We're on all the podcasts, YouTube. We're everywhere. But we really would appreciate if you would put a comment in that comment box below us, like us, subscribe. We love if you subscribe so you can find out when our next video is coming out. So please tell your friends about us. Share this with your network. Share this with your business network. Share this with your friends. Share this with people you don't even like even. But let's share this with everybody. And you know what? This digital marketing can work for you, but also for people that you care for. So on that note, I wish you have a great night.
Have a great night.
Cheers.